The Square Ball Podcast.
The Square Ball Weekly Show is brought to you with Levi Solicitors. Levi Solicitors will do you 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. That increases to 15% on your legal fees for conveyancing instructions just for January 2022. Details on the website. Usual three with you then. I'm Dan. Michael Normanton's here. And we've got Moscow White, Daniel Chapman as well. If you would like to get behind us and support us, have a look at TSB Plus. It's on our website, our membership package, where you get loads of stuff. We've increased the offer as well now. There's like a 1 month free trial as well. So if you've been thinking about it and you haven't done it yet, have a look.
Do it in a long month as well. Don't wait till February. You'll get ripped off.
That's not necessarily how we want to be framing this, Moscow, but thank you for your assistance on the sell.
I want everybody to get value for money.
If you don't know what TSB Plus is, it is our membership package where you get access to all the digital copies of the mag we've done since 2009. You get a dedicated podcast feed with all these podcasts ad-free. Priority access to the match ball after a game, including like the live stream on YouTube as well. There's a subscriber-only podcast, The Extra Ball, which we're doing the Butter Cup on as well at the minute, like an FA Cup style trophy for Leeds United loanees. Been having a lot of fun with that.
It's not just butter, it's better.
Yes. Extra video podcasts. You get a daily email from Moscow as well with all the essential Leeds United news, discounts on merch, loads of stuff. And it's at thesquareball.net/plus.
PLUS.
Into the news part of the show then straight away. And right at the top of this, I want to give Yorkshire Cancer Research a mention. They are the official charity partner of Leeds United, and they've asked us to give a mention to their Challenge 90 initiative that they're doing in January. Basically, they're challenging Leeds fans to take on 90 minutes of energetic exercise a week because regular exercise, they're saying, can help to prevent 13 types of cancer. And, you know, it's that time of year, isn't it? It's January. People get trainers on, decide to do exercise, look after yourself after Christmas and all that. So this is a nice hook on which to hang it. So if you fancy getting involved, have a look at Yorkshire Cancer on Twitter, at Yorkshire Cancer, for details on that. And I think we've started ours, haven't we? Because we're preparing for our own charity initiative. We should say different charities that we're raising money for here, just for the sake of clarity. But I started my training yesterday.
Did you?
Did a 4-mile walk.
I've sent some emails, if that counts. I've sent emails about the walk, which I think is
as good as
fitness, isn't it?
So what we're doing is a 92-mile walk across 4 days at the end of May. We're raising money for mental health charities. We're walking from Gary Speed's first playing field in North Wales via the mural in Bramley and then onto Ellen Road, and we're going to be going via some proper, tourist hotspots: Warrington, Oldham, Huddersfield,
past all the oil refineries over on the in the west there, up the Manchester Ship Canal. It's going to be beautiful. We're going through Salford. That's going to be nice.
What a treat
for everyone.
Let's all be kitted out in Leeds gear.
So yeah, the invites have gone out this week because it was amazingly, it was oversubscribed massively, and we're kind of limited by how many hotel rooms there are in Oldham.
Yeah,
because it's not the massive tourist hotspot, is it? I don't suppose so. We can get about 100 people on it. Depends how people are going to fit into rooms and stuff.
No word of a lie, we've basically booked up the whole of Oldham for that night.
Yes, basically. So
have you tried Airbnbs?
It's too complicated. I'm not getting into this.
We have had a company that's come on board and helped us as well. They offered their services to us as well, like a travel booking company that have kind of assisted. Yeah. We've had to draw lots. It's about the size of it because we had something stupid like 300 people wanted to come along.
Yeah, so it's over 300 in the end have wanted to do this.
What an absolute mad response.
Cracking. So the first batch of invites have gone out because I'm trying to make sure we don't oversubscribe a certain type of room because some people want to share, some people want a room to themselves. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. So there might be a few spaces left that we're kind of release up if people say they can't do it now. So if you're desperate, you might still have a chance.
Yeah, we'll be able to find a way. And also there's the point that if you want to join us on a leg of it as well, because we're sort of doing marathon distance for 4 days.
Yeah, and the final day would be good to do a big push on because that's just Huddersfield to Leeds, which is kind of a manageable. I think it's 18 miles when you go.
It's manageable if you to get the train.
I'm looking at you, Moscow. You can join us for this.
It's very easy
for this one. But yeah, the last day people could do that, or if you're as lazy as Moscow,
about half an hour.
Could you maybe manage that from the mural back to Ellen Road?
Which mural?
The Gary Speeds one. It's in Bramley.
No, I mean yes, but
in a taxi.
Yeah, why would I bother?
Okay, you can get a taxi. You could learn to ride a bike and cycle it.
When are you doing it?
In May.
Back end of May after the season finishes. 26th to the 29th.
You're busy.
I'm just looking for
a reason not to do it.
No, I'm looking for Airbnbs in Oldham actually.
I'm intrigued. I don't think there are that many. to be honest.
But it should be good fun, and we will be launching like the charity page as well, so we can get sorted on that. But anyway, details on your email if you did get involved with that, and thank you as well for expressing an interest. Hopefully we'll be able to accommodate as many as possible. Into the actual Leeds United news then now, and transfer window is open. Will he, won't he? Would anyone notice?
That's harsh.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we've not got much on incomings, have we?
No.
It's the downside of this. But Cody Drameh might be off, so that's good.
That'll help the small squad, won't it?
Is it? Yeah, Fabrizio Romano, he basically just lives for the transfer window, doesn't he?
I mean, if he's involving himself in this, then yes, this is real dedication to transfer gossip, isn't it?
And I'm just looking at Phil's feed now. Phil Hay has just tweeted in follow-up to this, saying that Cody Drameh is set to join Cardiff on loan to the end of the season. He's keen for more first-team football, and after discussions with his agent, Leeds are allowing him to go. The idea being getting more games under his belt, some air miles and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get that kind of detail from this Fabrizio Romano. We might have 6.3 million followers, but give me Phil Hay.
Phil said, I get the sense in him getting games. I less get the sense in losing him now.
I must admit, I kind of feel like we need all the players we can get at the moment.
You would expect then this perhaps suggests that there is something coming in the other way.
Can we wait until that's done before we let him go, just to be sure? I don't know. It worries me that we're reducing an already small squad, but maybe it's fine. I don't know. It feels terrible. A terrible idea to me.
This season has just taken on the complexion of Christ. We just need to get to the end of it now. All of it, just hasn't it? Just like get through it, get through the injuries. Maybe attack the window with a bit more vim and vigor in the summer.
We are now being linked with a striker.
Ah, that's good. Then that's it. That could reinvigorate us all. Who is it?
Literally, I found this out within the last 5 minutes. Someone called Vedat Mariki.
6'4", Kosovan. What's that in metric?
What, 6'4"?
Yeah.
Or Kosovan?
I was thinking 6'4". What's that in centimetres?
1.9 metres.
That's quite tall, then, isn't it?
Yeah, he's quite big. I mean, he's at Lazio. He scored 1 goal in 34, which is a good record.
Two.
Oh, maybe,
if you count
maybe
one in, he's got one in the
goal.
cup, so his full record is 43-2, but 17 and 36. 2 seasons running for 2 different clubs in the Turkish Super League, so you can't argue with that level of consistency. What's 36 divided by 17?
2 and a bit.
2 and a bit, and then because the season before that he scored 8 in 16. So he is he's an 8 in 16. What's 16 divided?
That's 1 in 2.
It's 1 in 2.
1 in 2, yeah.
Honestly.
Until he got to
Serie A, when he's a 1 in 34.
But could he be our 1 in a million, Michael? Hey, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
It's not the transfer to get the pulses racing, that one, is it? I think everyone will immediately draw parallels with Edgar Charney. You just know it's true, won't they?
Well, Kosovo and Albania are very different places.
No, I know, but the big man from Eastern Europe kind of
arriving from Italy.
Yeah, general vibe.
Yeah.
That's going to be the feeling with it. But anyway, hey, listen, do you see that we played West Ham?
That's novel, isn't it?
And then we played West Ham.
You watched this, Moscow, didn't you?
And we're playing West Ham again. Sick of it.
Lost again, didn't we?
Talking about the 23s, by the way.
Yeah, the under-23s had a game down with West Ham just to keep the run going. And
was it on Hackney Marshes, Moscow? Was it on Hackney Marshes?
Quite a dark pitch.
Oh. What happened on the pitch?
Leeds United lost 3-0, but they only conceded the first somewhere, I think it's midway through the second half, and West Ham now have won 9 of 9 at home. They're top of the league in the Premier Division.
Is that the West Ham way?
Well, the West Ham way seem to consist of having lots of really big lads, whereas they were up against
the Wilco way,
our little lads. So Archie Gray started in midfield at 15, and Sean McGurk was pretty good, but he's only little. But there was definitely kind of a physical and experience mismatch even at the level. But I would say our players acquitted themselves very well until they took it out in the second half, and that's when it started to fall apart. And then, but Christopher Klaassen the nervous-looking goalkeeper from Norway, had probably his best game. There were at least 3 really good saves, one of which was like ridiculously good, and that's good.
That's encouraging.
How did
to take out of it?
How did the only fit striker at the club, Max Dean, play? Because he presumably is going to have to start games now for the first team.
Well, no, because it'll be Dan James.
I know
everybody knows it's going to be Dan James, like it was before. So it's almost irrelevant that every other striker's fallen to pieces because Dan James will just do it like he was. But Max Dean is a adorably aggressive fella for, I think he's still only 17. He might
when you
be
say adorably aggressive, do you mean like Scrappy Doo?
Yeah, he's got that Alan Smith thing of you just don't really understand why he's so angry, but you really like it. Like I've seen him celebrate some goals by going sort of semi-Ketspire on the advertising hoardings, which is good for an under-23s match. But Bielsa was saying last week that 10 injuries in the first team have pulled 10 players out the under-23s, and that's pulled 10 players out the under-18s to play in the under-23s. So he's kind of saying that the
under-7s are playing the under-18s at the minute.
Yeah, but it was a decent performance. It was a better performance than 3-0 suggests.
Well, it's good news about Klaassen because people, I think, were getting a little bit worried that if when Melier went down, you're like, oh God, what's going to happen? If we do need an extra backup keeper, have you heard of that young lad who's at Sheffield Wednesday at the minute? Might be one to look at. You see that? You got their, I think, got their Player of the Month for December. Young lad, double-barrelled surname. You've heard of him? Bailey Peacock Farrell.
I mean, some people are born lucky, aren't they? I don't know how he's won that because it's a little bit like Joffrey Gelhardt has been nominated for Premier League, Premier Division, whatever it's called, Player of the Month, despite only playing 45 minutes in that month. And Bailey Peacock Farrell is Sheffield Wednesday's Player of the Month, despite I happened to be watching him basically dodging a header at Shrewsbury that allowed them to score, where I just looked like, same old Bailey, and they lost that game as well. But apparently that's how it contributed to him being Sheffield Wednesday's best player. So you'd have to wonder what the worst one was like.
But we do know that standards are far, far lower in League One, which is where Sheffield Wednesday are.
Mm-hmm.
The graphic's nice, I will say, because we've got the tweet there of them announcing it. The blue really brings out the blue of Peacock Farrell's eyes.
Yeah, have they photoshopped his eyes even sexier? I don't know.
Smouldering though.
I don't want to, pick on him particularly, but that was their...
No, you've never done that before.
Their last league game was that goal at Shrewsbury where they lost 1-0 and it was just headed straight past him and he went...
Are they playing Shrewsbury in the league? I thought that would be an FA Cup tie, no?
The game before that was the 5-0 defeat at Sunderland. Then there were a couple of cancellations and then we're back to the start of December when, clean sheets against Crewe and Portsmouth, but before that in the Football League, I don't know if you played in the... FLT, but they lost 3-0 to Hartlepool.
The FLT, look at you with the lingo. FLT.
A 2-2 draw with Wickham takes us back to the end of November. So I'm not sure what part of the 5-0 defeat to Sunderland and the 1-0 at Shrewsbury he really distinguished himself enough to clinch their Player of the Month.
Maybe he tried very hard.
Did his best. I mean, he's always done his best. You can never doubt.
We could maybe sign him back to play up front, to be fair, given the state of the injury crisis that we're enduring, because we've had updates. Obviously, we know about Gelhardt being out for a couple of weeks at least, if not slightly longer. We're not quite sure what's happened with Bamford. We did speculate on the match ball that maybe it was his prostate that was giving him trouble.
It's not identifiable, is what Bielsa said. But then did kind of identify it as being the knock under the hip. So
yeah, they know where he's hurt. They just don't know what.
I remember the young lad by the name of Forshaw had similar troubles not too long ago. But
back in a few weeks.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Weeks, not months, and all the rest of it.
He did also, Bielsa was saying that, and this kind of feeds into the transfer paranoia and stuff as well, that kind of, he mentioned all these players being back after the FIFA date. So after the international break where there's no games in Europe, we might have to play some of our 2 postponed matches during that time. But there is an international break after the Newcastle game, but before the Aston Villa game, and he was kind of like, his point was, do we need to sign a striker when after that date we'll have all these players back, and then that new player will be one of 5. So it was kind of there's 2 strands to that. Is one, we're not signing a striker to they'll all be back in February at the start of February. So they'll only miss West Ham and Newcastle. So
my slight concern with that, though, is the notion that they'll all be back fit, because that's not happened at all this season, has it?
we have had some players back fit.
Yeah, but not all five. I mean, like I say, I understand the logic is absolutely perfect, but it's slightly worrying that we haven't actually. I mean, how many games has Bamford plays? Is it 6 or something like that?
Yeah, not many, but he did come back, but then he made himself silly. I mean, but that doesn't, because we don't know what the details is with Bamford's injury, the new one, but Bielsa implied that he could be back for the Aston Villa game. So that would be, and he knows, you'd hope. So I hope he wasn't just kind of.
It's got to the stage now where you just hope someone is available.
Well, that's it. And the Joffrey and Tyler Roberts were both given 3 weeks. Like neither of them were like legs fallen off. There's kind of there are comeback dates within weeks. It's whether those get those turn out the way you want them to. Like, you can project when they're going to be back, but then, as Bielsa's favourite phrase, the evolution of the injury could change when they come back. But at the moment, it seems like his kind of view on it is that from the start of February, after the international break, those strikers will be back.
I hope they are.
But then, we do have the vagueness as well. Like Rodrigo's heels is just kind of, when they stop hurting, he'll play again. Same with Struijk's foot. So it's a bit of a mismatch. But so you kind of, if you have to pick out what information he does actually give us, that's one thing he said that sort of inspires some hope.
Work ongoing on incomings at Leeds, says Phil, but no firm progress yet. That's just going to get everybody all flappy, isn't it? Let's face it. I mean, the transfer window's awful, isn't it? How flappy everybody gets. Because it does transmit to you, even if you don't get flappy yourself. I've got a little bit flappy thinking about it. It's like you said, it's that gap between letting Drameh go out on loan and thinking, well, what happens if we get another injury, and not knowing what the solution is there. If there is a solution incoming, maybe there is.
In fairness, the transfer windows we've thought have gone well have turned out not, because Kiko came in and everyone thought, okay, yeah, good experienced goalkeeper to kind of see us over the line here. That didn't work out brilliantly. John-Kevin Augustin, another one, because Bamford was terrible, and Nketiah had gone. Getting this lad in, look at him scoring goals for Leipzig and playing the same team as Mbappe. He's going to be brilliant, and basically his career has ended now. after we signed him, he just doesn't play anywhere now. So it's one of those. I think it's hard to judge the success of a transfer window until like a year after it, unfortunately.
And that's the thing, is under any circumstances, signing a player is one of the biggest risks you take when you're running a football club. The old Wilkinson ratio, he said that if you are a good manager and 6 of 10 players you sign work out well, then you've done very well. So you're talking, even at best, a 60% chance of it working out. And then when you get into the situations of that it's not the ideal time to buy and all the other like cliches, the chances of it going wrong increase. So it's one of the things about the should have signed some players and then everything would have been fine. Hindsight argument assumes that those players would have worked out superbly. Like, it would then need the players that we sign to work out as well as being signed. There's another stage that has to happen for it to be the right thing to do, and so you can understand the nerves. And Leeds are in a quandary that maybe doesn't apply to teams like Newcastle, who have money to burn and are going to just burn it on Kieran Trippier and Chris Wood, but they need to buy to get out of the situation they're in, because the team that they've got is absolutely not good enough to stay in the division. Whereas the thing with Cody Drameh going is Luke Ayling is fit and could play right back. Llorente is only missing 1 game because he's suspended. You're hoping then, you put your faith in them not getting injured again, but the defence is Firpo, Llorente, Koch, Ayling. You don't need Drameh if that works out for the rest of the season. And the same with strikers, which was Bielsa's point. He said, he doesn't want 5 strikers, and in February he's going to have 4 fit ones if it all works out. But then there is still the balance of risk of, well, if they don't make it back in February, then you're still short. But then if you sign somebody, that player then could be Jean-Kevin Augustin Mark II. So it's kind of, there's not a dead set absolute guaranteed will solve everything solution in this. Everywhere you look is a risk, and it's kind of what risk you want to choose. Whereas, and I think with Leeds being 16th in the league and having such 4 joke clubs beneath us, it makes things more difficult than those joke clubs. Like, I mean, you know, Newcastle, those 4 clubs have to do something to stay up, whereas we have to get, if we get all our players that we own now fit, we're fine. So it's a different equation to if Norwich get all their players fit, they're fucked. So they're still fucked, and so they have a different situation to us, and arguably probably have an easier situation, because if they sign players and they still go down anyway, they can say, well, we tried. Whereas if we sign players, we could go down. If we don't sign players, we could go down. And it's a different one. And so the crunch and the question is not as easy as just sign some bloody players and then it will all be okay, because they'll probably just, you know, snap their legs in the first training session anyway. Probably would have happened. We could have signed 10 midfielders in the summer and they'd all be injured now. So there is no guarantees.
My feeling on it is there's going to be quite a biggish job in the summer window, and I'd like them to just do maybe some of the work now to make the job in the summer a bit easier, is how I sort of loosely feel about it.
Easier because we're trying to recruit players whilst in the Premier League as opposed to in the Championship. Yeah, and that would be the main reason.
You give yourself a better chance of being in the Premier League if you can maybe get 1 or 2 done now, even just to make do until
the thing is, we have actually spent quite a bit of money since we came up, and we've not sold anyone either. That's the thing. We used to, whenever we'd spend money, we'd also have, like even in Bielsa's time, you know, we'd sell Roof and Janssen, and there'd be some outgoings to kind of fund the incomings. But actually, we've not. Have we sold anyone since we came up? I'm trying to think for any.
Not of any.
The cost. Well, he's on loan, isn't he?
He's on loan. Yeah, we've not sold anyone for a decent fee, have we? So it has been a while since we brought any money in. So I don't know. It's how much cash there actually is.
Yeah, we shall see. I guess we shall see. Hey.
Well, there should be the same amount as we got as we've spent so far should be available again for the next 2 seasons. So we've spent around 150 million. So without bringing anybody in, so we should have that again to spend.
I think the FFP allows us 99 million, someone calculated, because there was that ridiculous Football Insider story today saying that we've hit the limits, and that's just bullshit. Yeah. How can you hit a 3-year limit in the Premier League when you've only been in it a season and a half?
Yeah, we're miles off. And so there is, I think there is scope to sign the players that we need, and I think it's kind of availability is the other issue, and the other thing that kind of puts them in an awkward position now, where if you know, or if you think that the midfielder that you really want after 3 years of trying to get one is going to be available in the summer, do you buy one now who you're then stuck with, and might mean that, well, the squad place is filled and you've got to deal with them, whereas this Jewel who you were holding on for,
it's like how we should have just waited for Kevin Nichols and not got David Livermore.
Speaking of failed midfielders, Lewis Baker had a game for Chelsea, which was celebrated like the second coming, wasn't it? In some quarters, there was 1 or 2 little media pieces on it. I mean, to be fair about it, but so the romance of all this. It's been so long since he's played for Chelsea. It's probably a bad thing that he's not played for Chelsea for so long, because it's an indictment on their pathetic youth system where they farm children basically.
He last played for them in the 2013-14 season.
No better than the Matrix.
And he came on with them 5-0 up against Chesterfield. They conceded a goal. Pathetic.
I mean, when he's been away from Chelsea, he's actually done all right, hasn't he? It didn't work out here, but when he played in Holland and Germany and Turkey on loan, he's had good seasons. So it's not like he's a completely redundant professional footballer. It's just Chelsea won't use him properly. Yeah, so last season, 34 games for Trabzonspor. He was in a team with Caleb Ekuban, who's now gone to Genoa. So that's fine. If you can play 34 seasons in the top flight there, then you're doing okay.
34 seasons would be really good.
34 seasons, 34 games, and a couple of goals, but then it's just Chelsea bringing him back and just going...
You get stuck where no one will. Chelsea won't play it, and no one else will pay you as much as Chelsea. So you end up just staying.
So it'll stay till his contract
and getting loaned out,
and then
and that's it. So nobody would take him at this point because they know he's available for free. And summer, so this last year is an absolute curse on him.
Steve Evans got sacked. Just to wrap up all the news, not necessarily Leeds news, but Gillingham news. This one.
You were meant to refer to this as big manager news because he's a big manager.
Big manager news. Okay. I've seen a big ex-manager at this current juncture.
No, I'm sure he still considers himself to be a manager.
The Celtic job will just be, they'll be on the phone, won't they? They'll be inquiring again.
The best bit about this was there was the club statement, and the top reply to it, which people absolutely jumped on, which was hilarious, was Joanne Edwards replying saying, "Can someone ask him if my husband can have his Gillingham merchandise, especially his bench coat? As the Gills shop don't do his size, but Steve's would defo fit him, ? All the best to them both, kiss."
To them both, is that her and Steve and her husband?
I think so.
Or is that Stephen and Rayner, his assistant?
Stephen, his coat.
His coat. Well, maybe, yes. I imagine it's...
Gillingham are 22nd in League One. They've lost 6 of the last 7, and they haven't won for 13. Their final match with Steve Evans in charge was a 4-0 defeat to Ipswich Town. And I bet if he'd just been allowed to sign that striker he wanted, then it all would have been fine, wouldn't it?
While we look at our injury crisis, we should remember that it's a fairly recent memory that Steve Evans was our manager, and I think we were all advocating for him to stay for another season because we were like, well, what's the point of changing it? We might as well leave him in place.
Sick of change. However, the change that did come about was a bit better, wasn't it?
It was in the end. I mean, it was Monk, wasn't it? We ended up with instead of Evans, which was an improvement, albeit albeit one that was a bit too pleased with himself.
Cody Drameh gets to go and learn from another of football's great thinkers, the manager of Cardiff.
God, I'd forgotten he was there.
Steve Morrison.
I think that's the other. That's more mystifying. Like, I can understand us reducing the size of the squad and our defensive options because that's just the mental way that Leeds United does things this season. Letting him go and be coached by Steve Morrison is just the absolute bewildering part of it. Other clubs are like when Swansea and Forest or whoever else Steve Cooper might be associated with interested in, let him go there. But what the hell is Steve Morrison going to teach him? And what can you imagine what's he going to learn from training with Steve Morrison?
He's going to poison him against Luciano Becchio. That's what he's going to do
after training with Marcelo Bielsa. Maybe he'll stay fit. Don't know.
One of the universe's great questions. That wraps up part 1 of the weekly show. Number 259. Head over to see part 2. West Ham preview. We've got that coming up, and we'll pick the week's heroes and villains as well.
The Square Ball Podcast.